2, 1. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Sports Medicine Broadcast. Athletic trainers in your junior high. How to make it happen. This week, our guests are coming from the New Caney area. Catherine Windsor, Leslie Adamik, and Christy Hayes. Both Catherine and Leslie are working in the junior highs currently, and Christy was part of the initial process to make it happen. I am your host, Jeremy Jackson, and sitting right beside me, I've got
Ben, Jose,
Jaylee,
Liz.
All right. And then if you want to join the conversation, you can join sportsmedicinebroadcast.com/junior high is where these show notes will be. But again, sportsmedicinebroadcast.com, where we broadcast live almost every Wednesday. So without much further ado, we're going to get right to it. We'll start off with you, Catherine. Catherine, you've been on the show before. Why don't you tell me the size of your school district?
Yeah, so we are in District 21-5A. We have 2 high schools, have about 2,000 students apiece. Then we have 4 middle schools, averaging about 800 per campus, with about 275 athletes, roughly, and 9 elementary schools.
All right. Sorry about that. Okay, and then Christy, tell me a little bit about where the idea of junior high athletic trainers came from, and then how did that process get started? Was there a catalyst, anything like that?
Well, it started with basically our district was growing really fast. And so it was kind of like we couldn't keep up with the junior high with just 2 of us at the high school. And when Porter High School opened, I opened it by myself. And so there was 1 with me with a middle school and 2 over at New Caney with the middle school. And so it was really difficult for me to cover any middle school activities. And so it helps to have the athletic director and the superintendent on your side as well. But what it started with is that we were having ambulances called for an ankle sprain that, didn't need any treatment other than what the normal athletic trainer could do. And so I got questioned a lot. Why are we having ambulances? I said, it's not the coaches that are calling, it's the administration that's calling. And so that kind of footed us being able to get the middle school athletic trainers because we wanted to save on the insurance cost. And so it was cheaper for us to go ahead and hire a middle school athletic trainer than to keep paying all these hospital bills that the administration didn't know. Yes, your ankle swelled up with a golf ball on the size of a golf ball inside of it. That's manageable. We see it a lot. Doesn't mean it needs to be sent in an ambulance to the emergency room. So it's just one of those things where it was a cost thing, it's a financial thing, that it was cheaper for us to have the athletic trainer on campus.
All right, so
we
go ahead.
We made a proposal. We developed a proposal. Of course, the athletic director had to approve it and then send it to the superintendent. And the superintendent had to approve it before they presented it to the board.
All right. So tell me a little bit more about your responsibilities before there was junior high, because currently there's 2 of us at the high school, and the only time we have any junior high responsibility is if they come over to us or if they have like a cross-country meet. We'll usually help out and cover with that because it's at our campus. So what is your previous junior high responsibility look like?
We covered all football, and so football games, because obviously we couldn't be at a varsity football practice and the junior high practices. And so we covered their games. So after our practice, since they played up at our middle school, the high school played is where they played. We covered that after the practice. And so we had to set up all of that. We covered anything home that we didn't have a prior engagement to as far as athletics at the high school. So if we had any events going on at the high school, those were covered first. And then we told the middle school kids that they could come up for treatment before school or after school. And that really wasn't used a whole lot. And so they still weren't getting the treatment that they needed, but that was available to them. They just didn't take that opportunity to use it.
Gotcha. So it's kind of similar. But we don't actually cover football even here. So they've had plenty of times where they've had some pretty good injuries in the football games. If it's at the stadium, then our district athletic trainer will take care of those games. But if it's at the campus, we have 10 intermediates. And so even if all of us, there's 5 high schools, there's 2 athletic trainers at each high school. So that would mean every single one of us would have to go work on Monday night and Tuesday night football for junior high. So it's just,
It's honestly, a lot.
Yeah, unrealistic. So, all right. So tell me a little bit more about the process. I mean, you said you came up with the proposal. Where did you get your idea, your information from?
Well, it was kind of really new, so we really kind of had to, we really didn't have a lot to go on other than, just what we had. I mean, we had so many kids at the middle school. I mean, started collecting the data. How many injuries do they have on a normal basis? I mean, do they go to the doctor that often? How many times is the ambulance called? I mean, just those types of little things that we started documenting and collecting, and that way we could put that in a proposal saying, if we cut out all of this, we're going to save the district this amount of money. So why don't we hire an athletic trainer that knows what they're doing, that can alleviate all of those things, and it helps our athletic programs. Excuse me.
Okay,
and so we started.
Go ahead.
We started collecting all that data. We came up with a proposal, and then I presented it to the athletic director. And then we kind of made some changes to it, and then he presented it to the superintendent.
All right, so how long were you collecting data from? Because right now our middle school coaches are kind of overwhelmed with paperwork because they have to deal with all the physicals. They have to try and do the return to play stuff, which is questionable whether they should be allowed to be part of that process. And, then all the other stuff that they have to do as a middle school coach. So I'm trying to figure out.
I think we pretty much started after a football season one year. We started then and did it for another year so we can include that football season. And then that way we had, the rest of the school year to present it to the school board so we could hire someone for the following year.
All right. Where did you find out the costs of things? So you said, like if we're going to end up saving this much on insurance. How do you go about finding that information out?
No, you have to call the insurance company, and that's a battle. We all know how insurances are, but they can give you the numbers of what they pay and all the you just have to keep track of what the bill was, how much the insurance paid, and their insurance, the school insurance, and then what's the remaining balance. And so you have to kind of keep up with that, and that was tough to do, but we managed it. And of course, I wasn't doing this all by myself. I had 2 other athletic trainers helping me along the way. So it's a big thing, but you have to track all those injuries, and you have to get the parents involved in it, and the administration, and the coaches have to be on board with it. I mean, the coaches are going to be on board with it because they're like, you know what, we want someone here. It doesn't matter what we have to do. We're going to help you out.
All right, so obviously it involves community buy-in, and recently we've talked to one of our school board members, and I've kind of mentioned what my plan is, and we've been collecting and doing stuff to kind of help. What our school board member said was, the reason I don't know about athletic trainers is because you haven't told me. And so I was like, okay, well, that's I mean, it was that simple. It's like, you haven't done anything to educate me about them, so I don't know about them. And so that's at the point where we are right now is
okay.
we gotta get that FaceTime, the introduction, that kind of thing with everybody, and then we just continue there. We're sending them some stuff saying, hey, this is who we are, what we do, this is how many athletes we take care of, how many injuries we've seen so far this year. And then so the next thing I need to do is work on getting the middle school coaches involved, because my brother-in-law is actually a middle school coach, and so obviously we talk about injuries and stuff that he's seen, and he's like, man, I don't know what to do. I just call an ambulance. Well, it's just a broken clavicle, it is what it is. So,
right.
But so we're right along that line there. So, okay, Leslie, what does your normal day look like? What time do you get there? What's your class load? What's your after school responsibility?
I get here about 6:30. Our doors open for the athletes to start coming in at practice at 7. So I open the training room early, so that they can come in and get treatments, taped, whatever they need beforehand. And then we have girls athletics period, first period. We have boys second period, and then we have our last period of the day is also athletics. And then there's 2 periods in between where I don't have.
So you have 7 periods during the day?
5.
5 periods during the day. And then you said there's 3 athletic periods during the day?
Yes, first, second, and fifth.
First, second, and fifth. Okay, so then what happens the rest of your day?
There's like 3 hours, almost 3 hours in between. And I use that time to do paperwork, to keep up with my notes, injury reports, call parents. My lunch is thrown in there somewhere. Schedules, just managing, communicating with the coaches.
Okay, so you have no classroom responsibilities, no lunchroom duty, anything like that?
No.
All right, very good. Very cool. Okay, so then we get through period 5, you have athletics there. In that 3-hour period or whatever, do you have to set up fields for practice? You set up coolers, or do the kids take care of that?
No, I currently don't have any student aids, but I usually try and get stuff set up for football because that last period's football. So I usually try and get everything set up outside by the beginning of that period. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't, depending on how busy I am. But yeah, and then pretty much straight from last period all the way through to about 5:30 is going to be football practice in the fall. And I usually leave somewhere around 6:30. Or 6.
So realistically, right now you're working 6:30 to 6 Monday through Friday?
Yes.
Okay, and then what about weekends?
Because our junior highs don't usually have events on the weekends, I usually have those pretty free unless there's Catherine's school hosted the district cross country meet, and we all went over and helped out with that. If Christy needs us at all, we help out there. But
all right, so for the most part, you're a Monday through Friday 12-hour day job, and then what about your summer? Completely yours?
Yeah, currently we've had summers off. Christy and the high schools, they usually cover the school. So
Okay, all right, Catherine. Kind of the same question. What does your day look like?
My day is pretty much exactly identical to Leslie's. Our schools, last year hers was different than mine, but this year her school switched to where hers is exactly like mine. So we have the 8th grade girls first period, 7th grade boys and 7th grade girls second, and then 3rd, 4th conference, and then 5th, 8th grade boys, which goes right into after school. And then we go till about 6. And then she forgot to throw in that we have game nights. So we have football Tuesdays and Wednesdays. One is home, one is away, usually opposite. Not really both in one week, unless there's kind of a schedule change. And then Thursdays, volleyball. And then once that gets done, then basketball is every Thursday. And then if we host tournaments.
So Tuesday, Wednesday are game nights during football. Thursday nights are volleyball game nights?
Yes.
So realistically, you only have 2 game nights per week in general?
Yes. It would be about 2 game nights per week.
Gotcha. So the 7th grade plays, because I'm trying to think, because like I said, ours will have games at home on Monday at 10 different sites, or at home on Tuesday at 10 different sites, because they're, like I said, they're either playing 7th grade on Monday and then 8th grade on Tuesday or something like, I don't know. I can't remember exactly how it is, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, so we do 7th grade on Tuesday, and then so say if 7th grade plays home on Tuesday, then 8th grade will play away on Wednesday.
Gotcha. Okay, that'll work. All right, Christy, same question. What does your daily schedule look like at the high school? Are you teaching sports medicine or anything like that?
No, we have athletics. We start off with our varsity athletics, our varsity boys football, and then we have 2nd period off, and that way we can actually catch up from varsity football if we have anything going on there. And then 3rd period we have we have freshman football first period and then varsity football third period. I'm sorry. I hadn't been there in a while, so I'm trying to get my schedule straight. But and then we have another fourth period we have off, and then fifth period is everything except for football and boys basketball. So fifth period is really our biggest period as far as number of athletes coming in. But third period is pretty busy as far as injuries during the football season. After football, it kind of, dwindles down. But and so we really don't have a lot of times because it's cut up into different second and fourth periods of time to really kind of do anything. We don't teach any classes. We used to. They said, no, we want you to focus on your athletic responsibilities, and we don't want you doing anything in the classroom. And so we don't have any classes on our roll. All of our student trainers are put in an athletic period, so they could be in football, soccer, basketball, track, whatever it is. But they report to us. They report to the coach for attendance, and then they report to us. So that way we can still teach them and get some hands-on training. However, we're not having to put the grades in, put the attendance in, that sort of thing. So it's really been kind of nice.
Okay.
And then after school, we're there until whatever is over, and that varies.
Yeah, like a typical high school schedule, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So do you guys have any sort of homeroom or lunch duty or anything like that? Any other morning duties, responsibilities, anything?
No, the only morning duty we have is our morning treatments. That's what we have to do in the mornings. They said everybody has to do mornings, and so that's what ours is the treatment.
All right. So what do you think was the difference maker? Why did they decide to move you out of the classroom and into only athletic training?
Well, we can thank our superintendent for that. His son was here, and so he wanted to do treatments and, focus on that. And so the superintendent's son was like, I want to, you're worried about getting your classroom stuff ready, and, I need to do treatments. And so the superintendent kind of helped us out with that just because his son was at our school. But, I really don't know. I mean, the principals were upset that we weren't going to teach classes anymore because that was another elective that they could use. But they were also, I know at some of the schools, they were also just putting kids in there that had no interest in the medical field to begin with. And so we were fighting that battle as well. And so we just kind of finally came to that compromise that we would focus on, treating the injuries. If someone needed to go to the doctor and a parent couldn't take them, that, maybe we could do that. So.
Yeah, I used to teach biology. I taught 4 classes of biology, and Bill taught 3 classes of math, and then they moved us to where we're only teaching sports medicine. So that's where the kids that are in here right now, that's what they do, is sports medicine. And so it was I can understand where if you don't have sports medicine, you're like, oh man, I get all this time. But going from teaching 4 classes of biology to just realistically 1 class of sports medicine, that's pretty awesome. And I don't know that I'd necessarily want to change that. So
right.
All right, so speaking of change, let's go with Catherine. If you were going to change something about your current job situation, what would that be?
Truthfully, I really can't think of anything. I just feel we're very lucky here in our district. All the coaches know what an athletic trainer is and what an athletic trainer does, because from grade 7 through 12, they've much had us, And if the new coaches come in, if they come from the high school, they would know. If they come from another junior high, then we could teach them. But I can't think of anything that I would change specifically in our district. The teachers all know, every day at school I try to educate them on what they do, so they're learning what we do. And no, I love it here. I wouldn't change anything.
Do you have any student aides there?
Yes, actually, I got this job when this school opened. My school was one of the new ones that they opened. So this is my 3rd year, and it's our 3rd year being here. I have 14 helpers. I have 14 student aides. All 3 grade levels, grades 6 through 8. The 6th graders mostly now are like little siblings of kids that I had already. But other than that, it's just word of mouth. They talk to their friends in PE and say, hey, I do this cool thing. And they show up, and yeah, so that goes really well. I split them into groups. I have like a little calendar I send to their parents, and then I use the to remind them like every 5 minutes to come to practice because they're children and they forget. I get on the bus, miss, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I mean, I have 14, which I mean, for being 11 years old is pretty impressive that they show up and remind their parents to come, and they bring their khakis and their polos, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, sounds like it. And then does that feed into the high school? Do most of those kids continue doing sports medicine athletic training in the high school?
Yes. So when I got this job, that was like one of the main goals they mentioned to me, was they wanted to grow the program there because it was small. And so now at the high school, there are, I think, 12 student aides, and I think maybe 8 of them were mine from the past 2 years that I've been here. The others were just upperclassmen from before I got there. So I think that's pretty exciting that they have that many that have continued it.
Gotcha. Very cool. All right, Leslie, what is the best part about your job?
Oh, well, I mean, I really like my schedule. I like having my weekends and the way that we get to split up all of our time. Like Christy had mentioned, holidays. So usually a lot of times a high school athletic trainer, they're working through the holiday breaks because there's practice and games. Here we usually split it up. Somebody gets a holiday and that's yours to work. And then you get the others time to yourself. So there's a lot more time to decompress, to de-stress, which really helps me keep going and just helps me to love my job.
Gotcha. Yeah, because as we're approaching Thanksgiving, I'm got a game the Saturday after Thanksgiving, which is pretty terrible. I'm pretty not happy about that, but it is what it is, right? So, I mean, I got to do it.
Right.
And Bill's got the game that's at the beginning of the week, so it's similar, because there's 2 of us, we get to split it up, but they have something all the time. All right, yes. Leslie, if there was something you were going to improve about your situation there at the middle school.
My situation, pretty much, we just got an entire new administration. So new principals, and they don't really know what I do yet completely. So it's been a process trying to get them to understand what I do. And we also pretty much have a brand new coaching staff. So, I mean, it can't just happen overnight, but that's just what I'm trying to improve right now is getting them to know what I do and what I can do for them and the kids.
Okay. So, Christy, same situation. You're going to improve your situation. What would you pick? What's the one battle you're going to fight?
Well, it's hard to ask me that right now because right now I don't want to pick any battle because I just want to go back to work. But since I've been out for 5 weeks, but it's more or less the time management and having students to help you. I want to grow our program as well. I have been able to have more than 10 kids every year. And so that's been good, but I would like a few more because it seems like when you have just those few that they're always working, that sort of thing. And that's the hard part about our job is that we're trying to have, teach them what the profession is about, but there's not a lot of them. And so when you burn them out, it doesn't help your situation. And, it's nice to have those kids carry the coolers for you or fill them up or that sort of thing. But, I just want to get there and, figure out things right now. And, there's really not a whole lot. Our schedule, since we don't teach or anything, I can't complain about our schedule at all.
All right. So essentially what I'm looking for is if I was to put a proposal forward, what are some of the things that I should make sure I'm cautious and say, okay, well, they can be allowed to do lunchroom duty or say, they really need to focus only on this because they are going to be working from 6:30 in the morning until 6:30 at night, Monday through Friday, that kind of thing. And so that's really from your experience, or from all three of you, your experience, what are some of the things that I really need to be cautious about to protect those future athletic trainers?
I would say, I wouldn't necessarily say, they can't work lunch detention or lunch duty, or they can't do those type of duties. Be available for the school, that sort of thing. Because, and I'll have to say, our offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator for football, they don't teach either. And so they have to do lunch duty and that sort of thing. So be open for them to do that. If they're going to teach a class, minimize it to one class, for each of them, if that needs to be, to justify them spending the money for them to be there. Don't put a full workload on them, because then they can't handle the job that they were actually hired to do. And so I would say yes to the duties and stuff, but don't overload them with anything else.
That's kind of what Stacy Havner, she now works at Pasadena Memorial, said. She used to work there in New Caney, and she's like, she would be in class at the middle school teaching, and then somebody would get hurt, so then they'd have to come send somebody to watch her class so she could go take care of that kid. And so that's one of the things that have really been kind of trying to work into the process of the things that we're trying to put together. And so what I would like would be that the athletic trainer was also the strength and conditioning coach, and that was their full-time job, because when I talked to Mike McKinney, strength training is healthcare too. So there's so much you can prevent, and we can set them up for future success if we were to say, okay, well, these middle school coaches or the middle school athletic trainers are going to run the weight training program for all athletics. And so that they can be in there if somebody gets hurt, or they can easily step aside if somebody gets hurt without, loss of academic time, that kind of thing. But then they can also work both ends of their job, both preventing and taken care of after an injury. And so that's kind of my ideal. And so
yeah, I think that would definitely work, because like me and Kat's office are right outside of our weight room, and so I know every time that they're in there, and usually I can't work in my office because of the noise anyway, so I go out in the weight room, and lots of these kids, they've never lifted weights before in their life. And so I go out and help the two coaches that are in there coach kids with form and make sure that they're not doing something that's going to cause them an injury in the future.
All right. So have you taken any courses or any certifications as far as like CSCS or corrective exercise specialist or anything like that?
I have not.
Okay, so
I work from what I guess was taught through my degree. I have a degree in physical education, so I've just used that.
Okay, that's fair enough. Catherine, you got anything similar situation?
Yeah, like you said, my office is right off. I told them, I said, give you a couple years, Leslie. You won't even notice the noise. You really won't. You'll get used to it. But yeah, I do the same thing. I kind of keep an eye, and then the coaches, we have one coach. He's not our coordinator, but he kind of is the coordinator for off season, and he develops all the plans, and then we kind of look at it together, and he'll, we'll talk about the stretching and different things like that. And now we're just implementing sports metrics into our off season here in grades 7 and 8, so that they can carry it to the high school. That's we just started that 2 weeks ago, so that's really exciting. Something that we're doing.
Yeah, I've seen several people posting, I've done reading and that kind of stuff about the ACL injury prevention programs, and just how much they can actually do to prevent. Obviously you get two players collide and nothing you can do about that, but a non-contact injury, most of those can be prevented through proper preparation. So
yeah, so that's interesting to watch. Even though we're on week 2, like I've already seen them learn, they're starting to remember the jumps and things like that. So for that to be part of our off season is pretty neat opportunity.
Very good. All right. So Catherine, if you were to have any recommendations for us as we're beginning to build the proposal, things that I should recommend, people I should talk to, ways that I should maybe shift my view, look at things from a different angle. You got anything like that?
No, I'd say Well, you could talk with like athletic directors in districts that have them, or maybe board members in districts that have them. I don't know how, specifically to get in contact with people like that, but that would be an idea because they knew the process, just like Christy was explaining. Maybe they were there for that process or help with the proposal, something like that. And then maybe to talk with the coaches and like the parents, maybe community members. Because I think that's one of the most important part about working in the middle school is we start in grade 7, teaching them like we are athletic trainers. This is an injury. This is just, soreness. And by the time they get to 9th grade, they already know that they have to go to morning treatment. And, oh, my hamstring's sore probably because I worked out yesterday. I don't need to go talk to anybody about it. I just need to stretch, So I think that decreases the amount of work, hopefully, that they would have in high school, and then helps keep everybody on the court or on the field, for more time and out of the doctor's office.
I've kind of noticed a theme in Christy, you said it was a superintendent's son that got y'all the improvements, and Chris over in Pearland said that the reason that they are now paying contract labor for junior high football is because the superintendent said, hey, why is there not an athletic trainer here at this middle school game? And so really it's until it's personal and for the school board it's hard to get things done. But I think what we did last week or whatever it was when we had the school board member here on the show, we're discussing that thing. We're going to go present it to them. And January is apparently school board appreciation month. So we're going to try and do something for them then, just to continue to build that relationship and that FaceTime, and then continue to work on the process. So I know I'm going to be talking with a couple more people just about the whole process of what data to collect and those kind of things. And I know, Christy, you said this, I think, in the beginning. So some of the data you collected was the total number of athletes for each campus, the number of injuries, the insurance cost, the athletes, the time lost due to injury. Did y'all factor in any way parents' work loss due to appointments?
No, we really didn't. That's one thing that we didn't look at. I don't think we even thought about it at the time, but that is probably something that we should look at. You should, people trying to get those athletic trainers in the school to look at, because parents don't want to leave work. I mean, that's costing them time and money. So,
how often do you take an athlete to the doctor?
We're fortunate enough to work with Memorial Hermann, and we have a doctor that can come out on Wednesdays and takes a look at all those kids that need to be looked at. So we don't necessarily take them.
Throughout the whole year, or just during football season?
During football season, it's every Wednesday, and then after that, it's just when needed.
Gotcha. Yeah, we got something similar. We just switched to Methodist Hospital, and we had a Tuesday night injury clinic, but they didn't come to the school. They went to the stadium because we have 5 high schools, 10 middle schools. Right. So getting to visit all those people would be obviously a full-time job. So Gotcha. Okay. And then Leslie, you said you don't have any student athletic trainers. Is that something you're working on, or student training aides? Is that something you're working on?
Yes, I have had them in the past. It's just the system we were using before, I had them during athletic periods, and that wasn't really working because I couldn't supervise them, and sometimes they weren't the best kids that you want. They were the ones that couldn't handle any other elective, so they put them somewhere where they could have more one-on-one, I guess, and mine was an option. So we had them there, but it really wasn't working out because we'd have like random drug testing, and I'd go cover that, and there would be a student sitting in my room without any supervision, and then there'd be like meetings, trainings, or something we'd have to go to, and nothing to do with those kids, which have to be supervised. So I am hoping to switch over to something more like Catherine has, to where they're after school, before school. Hopefully build that up so I can push them on to Christy.
Gotcha. Leslie, what are you using right now to track injuries and treatments?
Really, it's we have all of our stuff online. It's just switched over. We used to use Rank 1, but our district is kind of moving to a different form of documentation where all of their doctor's notes, all of their injury reports go directly into like their permanent file in the data system. So it's a little different. It's definitely not perfect at all, but mine is mostly just a spreadsheet that I keep track of right now. So not sure if Christy's found if they found any better way, or it's
Not yet.
Yeah.
So, Christy, what did y'all use during the time we are collecting data? How did you collect that?
We used rank 1, and so it was easier to track because you could put those injuries in and then track them throughout the whole process of their injury, how much time they were out, that sort of thing. So it was a whole lot easier than what we're doing now. So if you're using rank 1, that's a good way to track those injuries and what they are and how long they're out for and that sort of thing. So that was always a good way to track.
So were the middle school coaches using rank 1 to enter injuries, or did they just, like, how did you at the high school keep track of what was going on at the middle school?
Coaches would either email or call me, and I would have to do the injury report there. Or when if the kid came up to see me after school or before school, we would go ahead and document it that way. But yeah, we didn't allow coaches to enter injuries.
Yeah, and I don't think that's necessarily the right thing to do. I was just wondering because we use rank 1, and the only way to enter an injury is if we do it. The middle schools don't use it for physical forms or anything like that. They just use it for scheduling. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out. Do I send them a Google form and say, here, use this anytime somebody gets injured, and that way we can keep track of it, or just have them.
You can. That might not be a bad idea. Just put the kid's name and the injury and kind of how it happened, and that way you can take it from there and put it in rank 1. But that's not a bad way to do it.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out the most efficient. Like I said,
email.
Well, yeah, the email is a good thing too because they already know how to use it, and it's not something that they would have to have saved and go to the specific spot. It's like, well, just open up your email, whatever computer you're on, you can open up your email and say, hey,
right,
Bobby got hurt playing football, ankle, and then you just go from there. So, But with a Google form, it'd be a lot easier because it's already kind of in a spreadsheet, so you can sort it and look through it more easily. It's all on one spot. So, cool. All right. Any other thoughts or things to think about, things to make sure we don't do or we do include as we begin building a proposal to get our middle school athletes covered? Anybody?
I think the biggest thing is to just communicate with the administration, get them on board with it, because that's your best way to get them to the middle school. So, if you don't know your administration, go meet them and talk to them, that sort of thing, and then build that relationship, and that way they understand what we do and why we're actually hired to do what we do. So that's the biggest thing, is getting the administration involved, and then talk to parents, have the parents advocate for you. Even parents at the high school, tell them to say, hey, look, this would be great to have at the middle school level. And, talk to them. They'll say, yeah. And they'll push it through the school board too. They'll have support for it.
Gotcha. One of the things that when I was talking to Scott Galloway about this, he was saying that same thing is, you need to know the people at each level. So you need to be able to communicate with the principal, and then whoever their boss is, and whoever their boss is, and then ultimately the superintendent. And so it's not just go straight to the board and then hope it rolls downhill, but communicate at each level saying, here's what I would like to do. Do you approve of this? Yes. Okay. If not, then let's figure out what you don't approve of and then go from there. And so that's a good reminder there. All right. Catherine, any final thoughts, things to think about, consider?
Ooh, I can't think of anything. I feel like we hit almost all of it. Just making sure, I was going to repeat everything that was already said, but just making sure everyone knows what we do, why we do it, who we're here for, the parents, the kids, the coaches, the teachers, the principals, just really everyone. because I even get it in the hallway sometimes, you know. I'm always walking around the school. My field house is in the very back, way behind the school. So I'm always walking up to the gym, which is in the very front. And I'll even get stopped, you know, by new teachers like, hey, who are you? What do you do here? And so I'm always like, oh, you know, I'm the athletic trainer. And so basically just anyone that will listen, explain to them what you do, why you do it.
Gotcha. And Leslie, the baby of the group, final thoughts.
Yeah, pretty much the same. The more people that know you, the more people that know about your situation and know what you're trying to do, then they can help push you. And when it comes from more than one person, if you get a group of people advocating for the board for that position, then I mean, they're more likely to listen than you going up there and being like, I'm overworked, help me. You know, when there's people behind you saying, yeah, this is what we need to do. It's what's best for the kids. It's best for the budget. It's more likely that you're going to get it through if more people just know about it and will help you push it through.
And one of the things I've also been hearing as we've been talking about this subject is find ways to add value. So the more people that I help, you know, whether it's teachers or school board members, because that's what happened with Jesse, then the more likely those people are going to be to support. Those people are going to be behind me, just like you guys are saying. So I need to make sure I get outside of my athletic training room and meet people and take care of people and discuss things. And, you know, Scott was saying you got to make sure that you go to some of those school board meetings, or you got to go to, you know, maybe it's jump rope for heart or whatever it is, where they need somebody to help provide medical care. And so you volunteer your time and you can meet with parents and people that way. So all these are really good tips. And I think most of it's kind of along the same lines. So, all right. Leslie, since we're already on you, somebody wants to reach out and get a hold of you. How are they going to do that?
My email's great. That's what I'm going to answer the most consistently anyway. I mean, my school email is ladamik@newcaneyisd.org.
All right.
It's just my first initial, last name, Adamik. Real easy.
There we go. Christy?
Email or phone, you know, I have them with me all the time. Email is khayes@newcaneyisd.org, and I check it all the time as well. And I have a cell phone that the district provides for me, so you can reach out on that. It's 281-723-4706.
All right. And then Catherine?
Same. I have my email on my phone. I'm always checking it. So it's CWINDSOR@newcaneyisd.org.
All right, very good. I have the link to the proposal that Christy sent me that New Caney has put forward. So you can check the show notes. Again, this is sportsmedicinebroadcast.com/junior high. Again, sportsmedicinebroadcast.com/junior high. And then that'll have the show notes, the ways to contact them, and things like that. So for Jeremy, the athletic trainers there at New Caney ISD, thanks guys for joining me. That is a wrap. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks, Jeremy.